The morning had started like any other, except for the clouds that hung low over the city, promising rain that felt heavy even before it fell. Daniel woke before his alarm, the habit of a man who had learned that every minute mattered. He lay there for a second, staring at the ceiling of his modest apartment, listening to the soft breathing of his daughter Lily from the small room next door. She always slept with the door open, and he always pretended it was for her, but truly it was for him, so he would always hear if she needed anything. At 7 years old, she was his entire world. Her laughter filled the empty spaces of their home, and her gentle questions broke the loneliness that life had carved into him back when her mother walked away without explanation. He had grown used to silence, but Lily changed everything. He quietly shuffled into the kitchen, preparing her breakfast the way she liked. Warm milk, honey, and a small peanut butter sandwich. As he worked, he kept checking the cracked screen of his phone. His shift started in an hour, and the bus schedule was always unreliable. He couldn't afford a taxi. He couldn't afford almost anything except patience and hope. Those were free. He woke Lily with a kiss on the forehead, and she smiled instantly, stretching her little arms to wrap around his neck. "Daddy, you're home early," she mumbled. "I never left," he said softly, brushing her hair. "It's morning, time for school." She sat up, rubbing her eyes. "Can we walk today? I like the air. It might rain. I like the rain too." He smiled, because she always found beauty in things he only saw as problems. 20 minutes later, after dressing her carefully and braiding her hair the way she liked, they stepped out. The sky remained gray, but no raindrops fell yet. He held her hand as they walked to the school bus stop. She skipped a little, humming, while he kept glancing at his watch. The bus arrived late. Of course it did. By the time Lily waved goodbye and the bus turned the corner, Daniel knew he only had 20 minutes left to catch his own bus, and it was a 15-minute walk. He could make it. He told himself he could. He took a deep breath and started walking fast, almost jogging, hoping, praying that was when he saw her. A heavily pregnant woman standing near the intersection, one hand gripping her belly, the other holding onto a pole for support. She looked pale, uncomfortable, and very, very alone. People passed her without noticing or pretending not to. Cars honked, traffic surged, and she stood there looking like she could collapse at any second. Daniel slowed, then stopped. He looked at his watch again. He could make it if he just kept walking, but he looked back at her, biting his lip. He'd raised a daughter alone, and he knew what it looked like when someone desperately needed help. He jogged toward her. "Ma'am, are you okay?" he asked, worry tightening his voice. She shook her head. I don't feel good, my back. I think something's wrong." Her breath hitched and her knees buckled slightly. Daniel reached out just in time to steady her. "Sit down," he said, guiding her carefully to a nearby bench. "Do you need an ambulance?" No, she whispered. I stood too long. I've been trying to get a taxi for 20 minutes, but they won't stop in this traffic. I'm supposed to meet my doctor. Then let's get you there," Daniel said. "Can you walk a bit? The clinic isn't far, about 4 blocks. She nodded weakly. He supported her, letting her lean against his arm as they moved slowly down the sidewalk. Every step they took cracked open the time he had left to get to work. Every passing minute was a reminder that he couldn't afford this. But he also couldn't abandon someone in need. Her breathing steadied as they neared the clinic, but her weight sagged into him from exhaustion. He pushed open the door, helped her inside, and assisted her to the reception counter. The nurses immediately rushed over to her. "You did the right thing bringing her," one nurse told him. "I hope she's okay," he said. "She will be. She needs monitoring. Thank you for helping." He nodded, but inside he felt his chest tighten. Because now that adrenaline was fading, the reality hit him. He was late, very late. He sprinted out of the clinic and down the street, but by the time he got to his bus stop, he watched the bus pull away, splashing water from the first raindrops onto his pants. He stood there, soaked and breathless. He finally got to work nearly 40 minutes behind schedule. The building loomed tall, made of glass and power. Sinwave Industries, a massive conglomerate known for innovation, elite management, and their CEO, a mysterious woman who rarely appeared publicly. Daniel didn't know much about corporate politics. He only knew he worked maintenance on the lower floors, and that being late was strictly written as a fireable offense. The supervisors never cared about reasons. Excuses were worthless there. He walked in, swiping his card with shaky hands. The security guard shot him a look. "You're late, Dan," he said. "I know. Something happened. Good luck," the guard muttered. His stomach twisted. He went straight to the maintenance floor, where Mr. Harson, his supervisor, was waiting with his arms crossed. "Daniel, office now." Daniel followed silently. Inside the small, cold office, Harson didn't even sit. "That's it," he said. "You're done here, sir. Wait. Just hear me out. No." Harson slammed a folder on the desk. "This is your third time being late in 4 months." "I know, but my daughter, and today, what's the excuse?" Daniel swallowed hard. "There was a pregnant woman. She was in trouble. I helped her get to the clinic." Harson laughed, actually laughed. "Not my problem, and not the company's problem. You were scheduled at 9. You came at 9:47. I know, and I'm sorry, but you're fired. Clean out your locker." Daniel felt his chest hollow out. His legs felt numb. He had rent coming, school fees, groceries, Lily's asthma medication. "Please," Daniel whispered, "I need this job." "Not my concern." Harson turned away, dismissing him like garbage. Daniel walked out, every step heavier than the last, feeling as though the walls were closing in. He collected his things silently, coworkers glancing at him with awkward sympathy before shifting away. No one wanted to be near the man who'd just been fired. He walked out of the building into the rain, which was now steady and cold. He stood there for a long time, letting the water soak through his clothes, numb to everything. He had helped someone, and for that he had lost everything. He didn't know that somewhere high above, behind tinted windows, someone was watching. The next morning, Daniel took Lily to school again, pretending everything was fine. "Why are you walking me?" she asked. "Don't you have work?" "I took the day off," he lied, forcing a smile. "Just wanted to spend the morning with you." She smiled and hugged him before running onto the bus. When the bus pulled away, his smile crumbled instantly. He spent the next hours searching for a new job, going door to door with his small folder of documents. Every place said the same thing. "No vacancies, come back next month. Leave your CV, no promises." By noon, he was exhausted. That was when his cracked phone buzzed. A number he didn't know, a woman's voice, calm, polished, professional. "Mr. Daniel Reeves." "Yes." "This is Sin Wave Corporate Administration. Our CEO would like to meet with you immediately." He froze. This must be a mistake. I don't work there anymore." "We are aware." The woman answered. "Our CEO insists. A car is already on the way." Daniel blinked. "Why would the CEO want to meet me?" "She didn't say." The call ended. A black sedan pulled up 10 minutes later. The driver opened the door politely. "Mr. Reeves." Daniel sat inside, feeling entirely out of place. The car glided across the city until it reached the upper private entrance of Sin Wave headquarters, the place only high-ranking officials ever entered. The doors opened automatically. Inside, everything gleamed: marble floors, glass walls, elegant panel lighting. The driver led him to the private elevator, the top floor, the CEO floor. Daniel's heart hammered. Why would someone so powerful want to see him? When the elevator doors opened, he saw a huge office with floor-to-ceiling windows. A woman stood with her back to him, looking out at the skyline. Her posture was strong but delicate. Her long dark hair fell over a sleek blue dress. She turned slowly. Daniel froze. It was the pregnant woman he had helped yesterday. She smiled softly. "Hello, Daniel. You." He swallowed. "You're the CEO." "Yes. My name is Evelyn Hart, and yesterday you saved me." "I didn't save you. I just helped you get to the clinic." "You did far more than that," she said. "You stopped. No one else did. And you supported me when I could barely walk. My doctor said if I had waited any longer, I might have collapsed." He stared at her, stunned. I owe you my safety, she continued, but instead of being thanked, you were fired. It's okay, Daniel said quietly. I don't blame, I do. Her eyes hardened, and I don't tolerate injustice in my company. She stepped forward. Harson fired you, without authorization, without reporting the situation, without understanding the reason. I was still late, Daniel said, and I was still a pregnant woman needing help. Humanity matters more than punctuality. Her voice filled the room. Strong, controlled, then she softened again. Sit, please. He sat hesitantly. She sat across from him. I reviewed your file. You've been working here for 3 years. You've never taken a sick day except when your daughter was hospitalized. You have excellent performance reviews from everyone except Harson. Daniel didn't know what to say. You are exactly the kind of person I want at my company, she said, loyal, compassionate, honest. You chose a human life over your job, and that is priceless. She took a folder and slid it across to him. This is a reinstatement letter, she said, effective immediately, your position restored. He blinked. Thank you so much. I'm not done, she said gently. Open it. He opened the folder. His hands trembled. Inside was not just reinstatement. It was a promotion. Senior maintenance supervisor, double his salary, full medical coverage for his daughter, an allowance for transportation, and a personal direct report access to corporate HR to protect him from unfair treatment again. I don't deserve this, he whispered. You deserve more, Evelyn said, and I intend to give you more. She stood slowly, placing her hand on her belly. You helped me when I needed someone. Now I help you. Tears filled Daniel's eyes. Why? He asked. Because kindness should never cost you everything, she said softly. In my company, kindness will reward you. He felt his throat tighten. And one more thing, she said. Harson no longer works here. Daniel didn't celebrate that. He just nodded silently. Evelyn smiled warmly. I hope you will continue working here. People like you make this company worth running. He nodded again, unable to speak. As he left the office, walking toward the elevator, he felt lighter than he had in years. The weight of the world had shifted just enough for him to breathe again. But behind him, Evelyn watched with a thoughtful, emotional gaze. Because he didn't know something. Yesterday, when he held her steady with gentle hands, speaking softly to reassure her, helping her walk slowly to the clinic, he reminded her of someone, her father. He, too, had been an ordinary man with extraordinary kindness. And she had built her empire on the belief that people like him, and now like Daniel, were the ones who truly strengthen the world, and she intended to support them however she could. Daniel walked out of the building under clear skies. The rain had stopped. The city looked bright again. He held the promotion letter to his chest, his heart beating fast. When he picked up Lily from school that afternoon, she ran into his arms. Daddy, you look happy. He smiled the widest smile he had in years. We're going to be okay, Lily. He whispered into her hair, better than okay. And for the first time in a long time he believed it. Life began to change faster than Daniel ever expected. After his reinstatement and promotion, he returned to Sin Wave Industries with a heart full of gratitude and fear blended together. Gratitude for the chance he had been given, fear of not living up to it. But every day he stepped into the building, he reminded himself why he was there. Because kindness had mattered to someone powerful enough to change his life. His first week as senior maintenance supervisor felt surreal. He had an office now, a small one, but still an office, something he never imagined for himself. The staff respected him in a way they never had before. Some whispered about how the CEO herself had brought him back. Others simply smiled and greeted him warmly. But despite all the changes, he stayed humble. He still showed up early, still brought Lily's drawings to pin on his new desk, still checked every corner of the floors himself instead of sending someone else. The first few days were normal, but on Friday morning an unexpected beep sounded from his office phone. Mr. Reeves. The receptionist's voice said, "The CEO would like to see you now." His heart skipped. He straightened his shirt, wiped his hands, and headed to the executive elevator. The ride up felt longer this time, as if the air itself was thicker with anticipation. Evelyn Hart was standing near her desk when he walked in. She turned and smiled warmly. "Daniel, how are you adjusting, trying not to mess anything up?" He answered nervously. "You won't," she said. "You're exactly where you should be." He relaxed slightly. Then he noticed she wasn't alone. A doctor stood near the window, holding a small folder. Evelyn saw the look on his face and motioned for him to sit. "I wanted to update you personally," she said, "about what happened that morning." Daniel frowned. "Is everything okay?" "Yes and no," she said softly. "My pregnancy is more complicated than I let on. I wasn't just dizzy that day. My doctor advised me weeks ago to slow down. My stress levels have been affecting the baby." Daniel looked alarmed. "I'm sorry, I didn't know. You're not the cause," she interrupted firmly. "In fact, you might have saved me from something far worse. That morning, I pushed myself to attend a meeting I should have canceled, but after what happened, I realized I need to reevaluate my priorities." She glanced at her doctor, who nodded. "You helped me remember that being strong doesn't mean never asking for help," she said, "or accepting it when it's offered." Daniel listened quietly, unsure where she was heading. Evelyn stepped closer, her hand gently resting on her belly. "This company is my creation, my responsibility, but my child is my future, and I need trustworthy people around me. Good people." She looked directly into his eyes. "You're one of them." He blinked, stunned. "I want to ask you for something unusual," she said, "and I want you to feel free to say no." "What is it?" he asked. She gestured toward the chair. He sat down slowly. "I'm stepping back from daily operations for the remainder of my pregnancy," she explained, "not completely just reducing my physical presence, but I need someone I can rely on in the building, someone who isn't afraid to speak honestly, someone who sees the value in people over numbers." Daniel felt his throat tighten. "I don't know anything about business. You know about humanity," she said, "and sometimes that's far more important." He waited cautiously. "I want you to serve as my personal site liaison," she continued. "It's a special role. You'll report directly to me. You'll oversee employee well-being, safety, and on-ground concerns. Basically, you'll be my eyes and ears when I can't be here." Daniel stared. "I can't accept something like that." He whispered, "I'm not qualified." Evelyn smiled gently. "You're qualified because I say you are, and because you have something money, degrees, and titles can't buy: sincerity." He didn't know what to say. His mind raced. But strangely, he didn't feel fear, not the way he used to. He felt something else, purpose. After a long pause, he nodded. "If you trust me, I'll do my best." "I do trust you," she said softly. As he stood to leave, she grabbed his attention one more time. "And Daniel, yes, you saved me once," she said. "I hope you'll continue being part of my life, our life, in some way, even after the baby comes." Her words lingered in his mind long after he returned downstairs. Days turned into weeks. Daniel adapted to his new responsibilities quickly. Employees liked him, really liked him. They knew he listened. He stayed late when someone needed help. He mediated small conflicts. He enforced safety protocols with fairness rather than intimidation. For the first time in its massive corporate history, Sinwave had someone who wasn't afraid to put humanity first, and word reached Evelyn every single day. She sent him small notes sometimes, thanking him for helping an intern who fainted or preventing a machinery malfunction in the packaging wing. He visited her office once a week to update her on progress. Their conversations became longer, warmer, more personal. She learned about Lily, how she loved drawing suns with big smiles, how she slept hugging a stuffed rabbit, how she once tried to convince her father the moon followed her home. Evelyn laughed at that so hard she teared up, and Daniel learned things about her too, how she built the company from nothing, how she had grown up with a father who worked 3 jobs and still found time to tuck her in every night, how she feared raising her baby alone, though she didn't say why. He never asked. He didn't want to pry. One afternoon she asked him the question that had been hovering between them. "Daniel, does it ever get easier being a single parent?" He hesitated. "No," he said honestly, "but it does get more meaningful. You learn that the hard days don't define you, your love does." She smiled at that, touched deeply. The bond between them began to grow in places neither expected. One Friday evening, when most employees had left, Daniel found himself in the CEO lounge, a private room adjacent to her office. Evelyn sat on a sofa, her feet resting on a small cushion. "I'm sorry to call you this late," she said. "I just needed to talk to someone." Daniel sat across from her. "I'm here." She took a shaky breath. "I had a checkup today. The baby is healthy, but my blood pressure isn't improving. The doctor says I need complete rest for at least 2 weeks. Bed rest, no stress, no work, no travel." "That's good," Daniel said softly. "You should rest." She nodded, but her eyes were troubled. "I'm scared," she whispered. "I've built this company to be strong without me. But suddenly I feel like I'm letting everyone down, and I hate that feeling." "You're not letting anyone down," Daniel said firmly. "You're protecting your child. That's the bravest thing you can do." Her eyes glistened. "You always say the right thing," she murmured. He shrugged slightly. "I just tell the truth." She leaned back, placing a protective hand over her belly. For a moment the only sound was her slow breathing. "You know," she said softly, "I used to believe strength meant carrying everything alone. But the more I watch you with your daughter, the more I realize real strength means allowing yourself to need people too." He didn't know how to respond. Her vulnerability stirred a strange ache in his chest. She looked at him, her voice barely above a whisper. "Will you check on me while I'm on rest?" Daniel blinked. "Of course, anything you need." She nodded gratefully, but what she didn't say, what she couldn't admit, was that she didn't want to be alone anymore, not during the most fragile moment of her life. Not when she trusted him more than she trusted anyone else. The 2 weeks of her rest turned into something unexpected. Daniel visited her penthouse every 2 days to give her company updates, but they ended up talking about other things: life, hopes, fears, secrets whispered in low voices. Lily came with him sometimes. Evelyn adored her. She kept crayons in a drawer ready for her visits. She even framed one of Lily's drawings, a messy picture of a tall building with the sun behind it, and a small figure holding hands with a pregnant lady. When Daniel saw it framed on her wall, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Everything felt so natural, so warm, yet so dangerous, because he knew lines existed. Boundaries. She was a billionaire CEO, and he was the man who fixed broken lights and cleaned machinery grease just months ago. But hearts didn't care about walls. One evening after Lily had fallen asleep on the couch in Evelyn's penthouse, Evelyn stood by the window, looking down at the glowing city. Daniel draped a soft blanket over Lily and approached her slowly. "You're quieter tonight," he said. She exhaled shakily. "Because my life is changing, and I'm not sure how to navigate it." "You're doing fine," he said. "Am I?" She whispered. "Because I feel like I'm standing on the edge of something I can't name." Daniel felt his chest tighten. He stepped closer. "You don't have to face it alone," he said. Her eyes met his. "Daniel, what if I don't want to?" He didn't know what came over him. Maybe it was the soft glow of the city behind her, or the warmth of the room, or the months of unspoken emotions. But he lifted his hand slowly, giving her every chance to step back. She didn't. He brushed a strand of hair from her cheek. She closed her eyes. The moment was fragile, suspended between what they felt and what they feared. He withdrew his hand slowly, afraid of crossing a line she might regret. But she caught his wrist gently. "When the baby is born," she whispered, "I'll need people I trust, people who care about more than my title, people who care about me." "I care," Daniel said softly. Her voice trembled. "I know. That's why I'm afraid." He understood. She wasn't afraid of him. She was afraid of how safe he made her feel. That night changed something unspoken between them. They didn't cross any lines. They didn't confess anything. They didn't need to. Sometimes the deepest emotions lived quietly between breaths, between glances, between unspoken promises. and they both felt it. When Evelyn finally returned to work weeks later, the entire building celebrated quietly. But no one was happier than Daniel, who stood at the entrance waiting with a small bouquet Lily had picked. Evelyn saw him from across the lobby. Her eyes softened instantly. "I'm glad you're back," he said warmly. "I'm glad you were here," she answered, but the real turning point came one afternoon when Evelyn called him to her office unexpectedly. Her voice on the phone sounded fragile. He rushed upstairs. She stood by her desk holding an envelope. Her hands trembled. "What happened?" he asked, stepping closer. She looked at him, tears filling her eyes. The baby might come early." Daniel felt his heartbeat stop. "Is that bad?" "It can be," she whispered. "The doctor said there are complications. I might need an emergency delivery if things get worse." He stepped closer, instinctively reaching out. She didn't pull away. "I'm scared," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I don't want to go through this alone." "You won't," Daniel said firmly, taking her hand in his. "I promise. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." Her fingers tightened around his. For the first time in years, Evelyn let herself lean, literally and emotionally, on someone else. And Daniel felt something awakening in him he never expected to feel again. Something that terrified him, something that warmed him, something that whispered that this woman, this powerful, vulnerable, extraordinary woman, had carved a place in his heart he wasn't sure he could fill with anything else. Their lives were about to change forever, not because he helped a pregnant stranger at a bus stop, but because that stranger was no longer a stranger, because fate had tied them together long before they understood it, and because the baby she was fighting to protect might not be the only new beginning waiting for them.